Welcome back to Artificial Intelligence, the podcast where we explore the intersection of creativity, culture, and technology. I'm your host, Ola Semenikai.
And I'm your co host, Dr. Henrietta Wright. Today's theme is Craftwork Orange, bubbling over. Think of it as a conversation about what happens when craft, pressure, and technology start to boil. Let's look at the craft and the peel of that, okay, as we think about an orange in itself, okay? An orange looks simple on the outside, right? But its peel hides the complexity inside. Craft is like that. Whether in art or teaching, there's always unseen labor beneath the surface. AI often shows you the juice without the peeling.
Exactly. Craft work isn't about shortcuts, it's about savoring the peel, the puff, and the patience. AI may slice it for you, but it can't teach you the taste of working through it.
Without the peel, you lose the process.
Exactly. And that's really how we're bubbling over in education. In classrooms, we're bubbling over with new tech tools. Students are experimenting, teachers are juggling demands, and AI is being poured into the mix. The risk is that when the pot boils over, what spills out is critical thinking.
And that's where mentorship matters. A teacher has to know when to turn down the heat, when to let the ideas simmer, and when to push students to boil over with creativity. AI doesn't have that instinct.
It does not.
So, pressure cookers, as creativity.
Mhm.
Okay, so artists are under pressure too, right? Commissions, deadlines, expectations for constant originality. AI speeds things up, but it also raises the heat. Clients want instant visuals. Institutions want rapid innovation. The pot is always boiling.
And when that's happening under pressure, it isn't always good. Quick isn't the same as meaningful. Sometimes ideas need time to ferment like marmalade before they're ready for the world. And when the pot tips over, here's the danger. When things boil over too much, you lose the essence. The stew burns and the juice evaporates. In education, that looks like standardized AI generated lesson plans that ignore students' identity.
Yeah, and in art, it looks like surface level beauty with no cultural root. You're left with the mess of spillage, not the nourishment of the meal.
And that's where we think about the sweet versus the bitter.
Yeah, orange is balance between sweetness and acidity. That balance is craft. AI gives you sweetness on demand, but rarely the subtle bitterness that makes the flavor mature. The bitter notes are like the invisible labor, the revision, the reflection, the lived experience.
And that live experience, if you don't have the balance, without that balance, everything tastes artificial, sweet but shallow, fast but forgettable. Education and art needs the tang, the challenge, the struggle, and not just the sugar.
Can't remember when we used to drink Tang.
Yeah, when we used to drink, that's where we have to have that resistance. And that's when we think about craft as resistance. Craft itself becomes resilient, taking the time to peel, stir, and season. It's a radical act in an age of instant output. It says some things deserve patience.
Yeah, and that's why we call it Craftwork Orange. Craft is the antidote to speed culture. It's about saying no to disposability and yes to depth. When we bubble over, it should be because of abundance, of ideas, of reflection, and not because we're rushing. So let's look at the hidden labor and the hidden heat, right?
hmm
People rarely see the pot when it's on the stove or the hand that is constantly stirring, sustaining that fire beneath the pot to avoid spillage. In teaching, it's the grading, the planning, and the small adjustments. In art, it's the sketching, the failed drafts, and cultural research.
And AI hides that labor. It shows that finer juice, but not the simmer. But if people stop valuing the hidden heat, they'll think the craft is effortless, and then they'll stop paying for it. And that's what's at stake globally. Education and art aren't just kitchen projects, they're global kitchen. If one state lets it pot burns, the smell travels everywhere. AI doesn't respect borders, it stirs all pots at once.
Which means the responsibility isn't just personal or local, it's structural, even political. States need to invest in craft, in the schools, in the studios, in the cultural kitchens, or else they're letting the fire die. So let's look at craft as currency. Craft is a kind of currency. So an orange hand peeled with care tastes much different than one poured from a carton. Audiences know the difference when they feel it. Students know the difference when they experience it.
And yet, we let markets undervalue the difference. AI instant juice is cheaper, but it doesn't quench thirst the same way. The challenge is teaching people to taste again, to notice when they're sipping sugar water instead of juice. And so that's why we're bubbling over with purpose. And the real question isn't whether we're bubbling over. We are. The world is boiling with tech, culture, and change. The question is, what spills over? Do we lose substance or do we overflow with meaning?
Yeah, and that's the heart of craft. To guide the bubbles so they don't waste, but enrich. To use AI as seasoning, not as the meal. To keep the orange whole, even when the juice is flowing.
And that what makes our work art official. Until next time, keep crafting, keep tasting, and don't be afraid to bubble over with purpose.
And that is official.